A teacher at a school found an 8-year-old girl hiding in the bathroom. She said 3 words and the teacher was left paralyzed. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The fluorescent lights of Lincoln Elementary flickered overhead as Emily Thompson made her routine patrol of the empty hallways during recess. At 42, she had perfected the balance of warmth and authority that made her both respected and beloved by her students. A muffled sound from the girls' bathroom caught her attention. Emily paused, listening. There it was again, a quiet whimper, almost imperceptible against the distant playground noise filtering through the windows. "Hello? Is someone in here?" Emily called, pushing the door open gently. Silence greeted her, but Emily's instincts, honed by 15 years of teaching, told her someone was hiding. She checked under each stall door until she spotted a pair of small, dirty sneakers in the last cubicle. "It's okay," Emily said softly. "I'm Miss Thompson, a teacher here. Can you come out?" No response. Emily knelt down, her knees protesting against the cold tile floor. Through the gap beneath the door, she could make out a small figure huddled against the wall. "I just want to help. You're not in trouble." After a long pause, the lock clicked, and the door creaked open, revealing a girl no older than 8. Her dark hair hung in tangled clumps around a face smudged with dirt. Her clothes, a once yellow dress and navy cardigan, were filthy and torn. But it was her eyes that stopped Emily cold. Wide, haunted, and filled with a fear no child should know. "Hi there," Emily said, maintaining her gentle tone despite her shock. "What's your name?" The girl's lips trembled. She clutched a tattered backpack to her chest like armor. "Can you tell me how you got here?" Emily tried again. The girl stared, unblinking, before whispering 3 words that sent ice through Emily's veins. "She locked me." "Who locked you, sweetheart?" Emily reached out slowly, but the girl flinched away. "Who are you?" asked Principal Warner, appearing suddenly in the doorway. "Young lady, are you a student here?" The girl shrank back into the stall, terror flashing across her face. "Margaret, please," Emily said, standing protectively between them. "She's frightened." "Every child in this building is my responsibility," Warner insisted. "I don't recognize her." Emily turned back to the girl, who was now trembling visibly. "It's okay, I won't let anyone hurt you." In that moment, something shifted in Emily's heart. A certainty that transcended protocol. This wasn't just another troubled student. This was a child who had experienced something profoundly wrong, and every instinct in Emily's body screamed to protect her. "Call the nurse," Emily told Warner. "Then check the student records. I'll stay with her." As Warner left reluctantly, Emily sat on the floor, giving the girl space while signaling she wasn't alone. Outside, children laughed and played, unaware of the darkness that had just entered their school's walls. Emily didn't know it yet, but this encounter would change everything. For her, for the mysterious child, and for the shadowy truths waiting to be uncovered. "How many characters would you like for the next chapter?" Emily led the girl to the nurse's office, careful not to touch her. The child moved like a frightened animal, her eyes constantly darting to exits and windows. In the brightly lit clinic, Nurse Helen approached with practiced gentleness. "Hello, there," she said, crouching to the girl's level. "My name's Helen. Would it be okay if I check to make sure you're not hurt?" The girl's gaze shifted to Emily, seeking reassurance. "Helen's very nice," Emily said. "I'll stay right here if you want." A slight nod was the only response. Helen's professional demeanor couldn't hide her concern as she examined the girl. Multiple bruises in various stages of healing marked her thin arms. Her fingernails were broken and dirty. When Helen tried to check her back, the girl panicked and retreated to Emily's side. "She's dehydrated and malnourished," Helen whispered to Emily. "There are signs of prolonged neglect. This needs to be reported immediately." Principal Warner appeared at the doorway, face taut with concern. "No match in our records. She's not one of ours. I've called Child Protective Services." "Did you find a name?" Emily asked. "Nothing. She's a ghost." Emily knelt before the girl. "Sweetheart, can you tell me your name? We just want to help you. The girl studied Emily's face, as if searching for deceit. Finally, she whispered, Lily. Lily, Emily repeated with a smile. That's a beautiful name. How old are you, Lily? Lily held up 8 fingers. And your last name? Do you remember your address? Lily's expression shuddered closed again. She clutched her backpack tighter. Let me try, Helen suggested, returning with a juice box and crackers. Hungry, honey? Lily accepted the offering with trembling hands, devouring the crackers so quickly that Emily feared she might choke. Slow down, Emily said gently. There's plenty more. No one will take it away. Those words triggered something. Tears welled in Lily's eyes, silent droplets tracking clean lines down her dirty cheeks. She took food away, Lily whispered. When I was bad. Emily and Helen exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement of the horror implied. Who did, Lily? Emily asked carefully. Lily shook her head violently, fear returning to her eyes. Warner stepped forward. CPS is sending someone. They should be here within the hour. She needs a shower and clean clothes, Helen said. There's some lost and found items that might fit. After coaxing Lily into the small bathroom attached to the nurse's office, Emily helped her wash up, disturbed by the additional bruises and marks revealed. Lily winced when the water touched certain spots but didn't complain. While Lily changed into clean clothes, jeans and a purple sweater several sizes too large, Emily examined the backpack Lily had reluctantly surrendered. Inside was a tattered blanket, a plastic water bottle, half a sandwich wrapped in foil, now moldy, and a small, worn rabbit-stuffed animal. No identification, no clues. Emily's phone vibrated. A text from her sister Samantha. Still on for dinner? Tonight? Made your favorite lasagna. The normalcy of the message felt jarring against the surreal situation. Emily replied quickly. Something came up at school. Might be late. We'll explain later. When Lily emerged, transformed by cleanliness, but still haunted-looking in the oversized clothes, Emily's heart clenched. The girl moved to the window, staring out at the playground with longing. You're safe now, Emily assured her. Can you tell us your full name? Or your parents' names? Lily turned, hugging herself. Mom is in heaven. She said Aunt Diane would take care of me. Aunt Diane, Emily repeated. Is that who locked you up, Lily? Before Lily could answer, Warner stepped in. Nathan Reed from CPS is here. Nathan was not what Emily expected. Instead of the overworked, middle-aged bureaucrat she'd anticipated, he was a man in his late 30s with kind eyes and a casual confidence that immediately set Lily at ease. Hi, Lily, he said, sitting across from her. Tough day, huh? Lily nodded, studying him. I'm here to make sure you're safe, Nathan continued. Think you could answer a few questions for me? Are you going to send me back? Lily asked, her voice barely audible. Back where? Nathan asked gently. To the dark room, where she puts me when I'm bad. Nathan maintained his calm expression, but Emily noticed his knuckles whitening as he gripped his notepad. No, Lily. You're not going back there, I promise. That's what Mom said too, before she went to heaven. Lily's voice carried a weary skepticism no 8-year-old should possess. Nathan glanced at Emily, silently acknowledging the gravity of the situation. Do you know your last name, Lily? Nathan tried. Wilson. Lily Wilson. Emily felt a chill. The name sounded familiar. Nathan tapped something into his tablet. His expression shifted subtly as he read the screen. Lily, would you mind talking with Nurse Helen for a few minutes? I need to speak with Ms. Thompson and Principal Warner. Once Lily was out of earshot, Nathan's professional composure cracked slightly. Lily Wilson, age 8, was reported missing 6 months ago. The case was closed when her guardian, Diane Collins, claimed Lily had gone to live with her biological father in Arizona. But there was no father in the picture. Lily's mother, Charlotte, was a single parent who died of cancer last year. So this Diane person lied? Emily asked, horror mounting. Appears so. But here's where it gets complicated. Diane Collins is the wife of Robert Collins, Warner gasped. The real estate developer? The one donating the new library wing? The same, Nathan confirmed grimly. Major political connections, philanthropists, pillars of the community. Not the typical profile for abusers. I don't care who they are, Emily said firmly. That child has been mistreated. You saw her condition. I agree, Nathan said, but we need to proceed carefully. People with their resources can make accusations disappear if we don't have solid evidence. What happens to Lily now? Emily asked. She'll go to emergency foster care while we investigate. Emily thought of the terror in Lily's eyes, her difficulty, trusting, the way she'd only begun to respond to Emily. I'm a certified foster parent, she said suddenly. The word surprised even her. I completed the training last year after my son died. I never took in a child, but my home is approved. Nathan raised an eyebrow. That's highly irregular. So is this whole situation, Emily countered. She trusts me, at least a little. Another transition might traumatize her further. Warner looked like she wanted to object, but Nathan was already considering it. Let me make some calls, he said finally. It would be temporary, just until we sort this out. As Nathan stepped away to make his calls, Emily gazed at Lily through the office window. The girl was carefully examining a children's book, her fingers tracing the colorful illustrations with wonder. 3 years ago, Emily had lost everything that mattered when her son Michael drowned during a family vacation. Her marriage couldn't survive the grief. Teaching had been her lifeline, the only thing that gave her purpose. Now, looking at Lily, Emily felt something she hadn't experienced in years. A fierce protectiveness, a reason to fight. Whatever darkness this child had escaped, Emily would make sure she never returned to it, no matter what it took. The next morning, Emily awoke to the sound of quiet sobbing. She found Lily huddled in the corner of the guest bedroom, clutching her stuffed rabbit, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. Lily? What's wrong? Emily asked, keeping her distance. I don't know where I am, Lily whispered, her voice trembling. I woke up and it was dark. Emily's heart ached. You're at my house, remember? You're safe here. I'm Ms. Thompson from the school. Recognition gradually dawned in Lily's eyes. The bathroom lady. Despite everything, Emily smiled. Yes, the bathroom lady. She gestured to the bedside lamp. This light stays on all night if you want. You're never in the dark here unless you choose to be. Lily nodded, processing this information. She always turned the lights off, even when I begged. Emily swallowed her anger, keeping her voice gentle. Would you like some breakfast? I make pretty good pancakes. In the kitchen, Emily watched as Lily approached the refrigerator with trepidation. The girl stared in wonder at the contents, as if she'd never seen so much food in one place. Can I? Lily hesitated, pointing to an apple. You can eat whatever you want whenever you're hungry, Emily said firmly. There are no food rules here. While Lily nibbled on the apple, Emily mixed pancake batter, filling the silence with casual chatter about her cat, Oscar, who was currently hiding under the sofa, suspicious of their new houseguest. I've called the school to let them know I'm taking a few personal days, Emily explained, so we can get to know each other better. Am I staying here? Lily asked cautiously. For a little while, if that's okay with you. Mr. Reed, the man from yesterday, thought you might feel safer here than with strangers. Lily seemed to consider this. What about Aunt Diane? Will she find me? Emily set a plate of pancakes in front of Lily. Mr. Reed and the police are talking to your aunt right now. Their job is to make sure you're safe. She'll be mad. Lily's hand trembled as she reached for the syrup. She'll say I lied. She always says I make up stories. Emily sat beside her. I believe you, Lily, and Mr. Reed believes you too. A knock at the door made Lily jump, sending her fork clattering to the floor. Emily touched her shoulder reassuringly. It's probably just Mr. Reed. He said he'd come by this morning. Nathan stood on the porch, his expression grim. Behind him was a woman Emily didn't recognize. middle-aged, professionally dressed, with a severe expression that softened slightly when Emily opened the door. "Miss Thompson, this is Detective Sandra Martinez," Nathan said. "She'd like to speak with Lily." In the living room, Detective Martinez knelt before Lily, who had retreated to Emily's side on the couch. "Hello, Lily. I'm Sandra. I'm a police officer who helps kids who might be in trouble." Lily glanced at Emily, who nodded encouragingly. "I need to ask you some questions about your Aunt Diane and Uncle Robert. Is that okay?" Lily clutched her rabbit tighter but nodded. "How long did you live with your aunt and uncle?" "After Mommy went to heaven, last winter when the trees had no leaves." "And they took good care of you at first?" Lily nodded. "Aunt Diane bought me new dresses. Uncle Robert took me for ice cream." "When did things change?" Martinez asked gently. Lily's expression clouded. "When I spilled juice on the white carpet. Aunt Diane said I did it on purpose. She said I was ungrateful." "What happened then?" "She put me in the basement room. Just for one night at first, then longer if I was bad." Martinez maintained her professional demeanor, but Emily saw her jaw tighten. "What was this room like?" "Small, no windows. There's a mattress and a bucket for—" Lily looked down embarrassed. "For when I need to go bathroom." Nathan, who had been silent, made a strangled noise. "How often did they put you in this room?" Martinez continued. "When I was loud. When I asked about Mommy. When I didn't finish dinner." Lily's voice became mechanical, reciting a litany of trivial offenses. "When I used too much shampoo. When Uncle Robert's friends came over." Emily felt nauseous. The systematic cruelty painted by these simple statements was overwhelming. "How did you escape, Lily?" Martinez asked. "Aunt Diane was sick. She took medicine that made her sleep. She forgot to lock the door." Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "I took some food and ran. I didn't know where to go. I saw the school with kids playing. I hid in the bathroom." "How long were you hiding in the school before Miss Thompson found you?" 2 days, I think. I slept in the big bathroom stall at night. I drank from the sink." Emily exchanged horrified glances with Nathan. 2 days and no one had noticed a child living in their school bathroom. When Martinez finished her questioning, she pulled Emily and Nathan aside while Lily remained on the couch, watching cartoons with vacant eyes. "We went to the Collins residence this morning," Martinez said quietly. "Diane Collins denied everything. Claims Lily ran away weeks ago and they've been frantically searching." "That's absurd," Emily hissed. "The girl was malnourished, traumatized." "I know," Martinez interrupted, "but they've already lawyered up. Robert Collins is calling in favors, claiming his wife has mental health issues that Lily is exploiting. Says the girl has a history of behavioral problems and pathological lying." Nathan snorted. "Classic abuser playbook, discredit the victim." "We've obtained a warrant to search their house," Martinez continued. "But I should warn you, these people have resources and connections. This won't be a straightforward case." After they left, Emily returned to find Lily asleep on the couch, clutching her rabbit. The child's face, relaxed in sleep, looked younger than her 8 years. Emily's phone vibrated with a text from Samantha. "Heard rumors about you taking in some strange kid from school. Call me ASAP." Before Emily could reply, another call came. Through Principal Warner. "Emily, what have you gotten yourself into?" Warner demanded without preamble. "Robert Collins just called the superintendent. He's claiming you've kidnapped his niece." "That's ridiculous," Emily replied, keeping her voice low to avoid waking Lily. "CPS placed her with me temporarily. He's threatening to sue the school district. Says you've influenced a mentally unstable child to make false accusations." "Margaret, you saw her condition." "I know what I saw," Warner interrupted, her voice softening slightly. "And I'll back you up on that. But these are powerful people, Emily. The superintendent is panicking. Let him panic. I'm not abandoning this child." After hanging up, Emily gazed at Lily's sleeping form. 3 years ago, she couldn't save her own son from drowning. The counselors had told her repeatedly it wasn't her fault, that sometimes tragedies simply happen, but the guilt had never fully subsided. This time was different. This time she could protect a child from harm, and no matter what resources the Collins family might have, Emily would fight with everything she had. The doorbell rang again, startling Lily awake. Emily peeked through the curtains and felt her blood run cold. A well-dressed couple stood on her porch, the woman petite and elegant, the man imposing in an expensive suit. "Emily," the man called through the door. "I'm Robert Collins, Lily's uncle. We just want to talk, to clear up this terrible misunderstanding." Lily, now fully awake, heard the voice and began to tremble violently. "Don't let them take me," she whispered, her face drained of color. "Please, they'll put me back in the dark." Emily pulled Lily close, already reaching for her phone to call Nathan. "They won't take you," she promised fiercely. "I won't let them." Emily guided Lily quickly to the back bedroom, keeping her voice calm despite her racing heart. "Stay here, sweetheart. Don't come out until I tell you it's safe." She handed Lily her phone. "If you get scared, press this green button. It will call Mr. Reed." Lily nodded, clutching the phone like a lifeline as she crawled under the bed. Emily closed the door gently and hurried to the front of the house. The doorbell rang again, more insistently. Taking a deep breath, Emily opened the door but remained firmly in the threshold, blocking entry. "Mr. and Mrs. Collins, I presume," she said coolly. "I'm afraid now isn't a good time." Diane Collins was nothing like Emily had imagined. Instead of a cruel-faced villain, she was an elegant woman in her early 40s with perfectly styled blonde hair and concerned eyes that welled with tears. "Please," Diane said, her voice breaking. "We just want to see our niece. There's been a terrible misunderstanding." Robert Collins placed a supportive hand on his wife's shoulder. He was tall and distinguished, with silver-streaked dark hair and the confident bearing of a man accustomed to getting his way. "Ms. Thompson," he said smoothly, "we understand you're trying to help, but you've only heard one side of a complex situation. Detective Martinez and CPS are handling this case," Emily replied firmly. "If you have concerns, I suggest you speak with them." "We have," Robert said. "But bureaucracy moves slowly, and meanwhile, our troubled niece is spreading harmful fantasies. Diane has been ill." "Cancer," Diane interjected, wiping a tear. "Stage 3. The treatments have been difficult. Lily has struggled with the disruption to her routine. She's always had behavioral issues, even when Charlotte was alive." Emily's resolve wavered momentarily. Could she have misinterpreted the situation? No. She remembered Lily's bruises, her terror, her malnourishment. "I'm sorry about your health issues, Mrs. Collins, but that doesn't explain Lily's physical condition." "Lily has been engaging in self-harm behaviors," Robert said gravely. "Hitting, herself refusing to eat. Our therapist says it's related to her mother's death." "Your therapist?" Emily asked skeptically. "Dr. Maxwell. Old family friend. He's been treating Lily for anxiety and attachment disorder." Emily crossed her arms. "If you're so concerned about Lily's welfare, why did you tell authorities she'd gone to live with her father in Arizona? A father who, I understand, doesn't exist?" The couple exchanged glances. "A misunderstanding with the caseworker," Robert explained smoothly. "We said she was visiting family in Arizona. The rest was administrative error." A car pulled into Emily's driveway, Nathan's sedan. Relief washed over her as he approached, his expression hardening when he recognized the visitors. "Mr. and Mrs. Collins," Nathan said. "This is unexpected. We have an appointment with your attorney in 2 hours." "We couldn't wait," Diane said, tearfully. "We've been sick with worry." "Then you'll appreciate that Lily's welfare is our primary concern," Nathan replied coolly. "Which is why she'll remain in emergency placement while we investigate." "You're exceeding your authority," Robert said, his friendly facade slipping slightly. "Our attorney will—" "Your attorney can contact the department," Nathan interrupted. "Now I believe Miss Thompson has asked you to leave." After a tense moment, Robert guided his wife back to their luxury SUV. Before leaving, he turned to Emily. "This isn't over. That child belongs with her family." When they were gone, Emily sagged against the doorframe, suddenly exhausted. They seem so normal, she whispered. That's often the case, Nathan said grimly. The most dangerous abusers are the ones who can present a perfect front to the world. Inside, Emily found Lily still hiding under the bed, wide-eyed and trembling. They're gone, Emily assured her, kneeling on the floor. You're safe, Lily crawled out cautiously. They want to take me back. They won't, Nathan promised, joining them. But Lily, I need to ask you something important. Your aunt mentioned a doctor named Maxwell who was treating you. Did you ever see a doctor or therapist? Lily shook her head. Uncle Robert's friend came over sometimes. He gave me pills that made me sleepy. They said it was medicine to fix my brain because I was bad. Emily and Nathan exchanged alarmed glances. Do you remember what the pills looked like? Nathan asked. White and blue, they made everything fuzzy. Nathan made a note on his phone. We'll need a drug test, he murmured to Emily. That afternoon, Emily took Lily to the Children's Hospital, where a compassionate doctor documented her injuries and ran tests. The preliminary results were disturbing. Traces of sedatives not prescribed for pediatric use, along with signs of long-term nutritional deficiency. This helps our case, Nathan told Emily, as they waited for Lily to finish with a child psychologist. But the Collins family has already filed for emergency custody reinstatement. They're claiming you and the school influenced Lily to fabricate abuse allegations. That's absurd, Emily said. You saw her condition. I know, but they've submitted affidavits from 3 different professionals attesting to Lily's history of manipulative behavior and fantasy creation. They're lying, Emily insisted, or they've been lied to. Probably both, Nathan agreed. The judge assigned to the emergency hearing is Catherine Winters. She's fair, but strictly by the book. The hearing is scheduled for Monday morning. That's only 2 days away. Standard for emergency petitions. I've requested the basement room. Be included in the search warrant execution today. If they find evidence of Lily's captivity, it will strengthen our position significantly. When Lily returned, her face was drawn. The psychologist, Dr. Jasmine Chen, asked to speak with Emily and Nathan privately. Lily shows classic signs of trauma, Dr. Chen explained. Her descriptions of captivity and punishment are consistent and detailed, not the kind of narrative typically invented by children. I'm particularly concerned about her descriptions of being drugged to make her behave during social gatherings. Will you testify to that at the hearing? Nathan asked. Absolutely. I've also recommended a full neurological workup. Extended. Isolation during key developmental periods can have lasting effects. On the drive home, Lily stared out the window in silence. Emily wondered what was going through her mind. Was she afraid the Collins would somehow take her back? Was she reliving traumas during her psychological evaluation? Mr. Reed says you're a good teacher, Lily said suddenly. I try to be. Emily replied, surprised by the comment. My mom was a teacher too. Science. She had plants all over our apartment. It was the first time Lily had voluntarily shared a memory of her mother. Emily treaded carefully. That sounds lovely. Do you like plants? Lily nodded. Mom let me help water them. We had names for all of them. Emily smiled. Maybe we could get some plants for my apartment. Would you like that? Aunt Diane threw Mom's plants away. She said they were dirty. The casual cruelty of the act, destroying a dead woman's beloved, possessions erasing those connections for her grieving daughter, ignited Emily's anger anew. Well, Emily said, keeping her voice light, I think plants make a house feel like a home. Perhaps tomorrow we could visit the garden center and pick out a few. That evening, as Emily prepared dinner, her sister Samantha arrived unannounced. Had to see for myself, Samantha said, eyeing Lily, who was drawing quietly at the kitchen table. The rumors are all over town. What rumors? Emily asked, leading her sister to the living room for privacy. That you've taken in some disturbed child who's making wild accusations against the Collins family. Emily, what were you thinking? Robert Collins practically owns half the town. I was thinking about protecting a vulnerable child, Emily replied evenly. You should see what they did to her, Sam. Samantha's expression softened slightly. Are you sure about this? After Michael? I worry about you getting attached, especially to a child with problems. Emily stiffened. Lily doesn't have problems. She has trauma. There's a difference. Just don't want to see you hurt again. You've been through enough. Before Emily could respond, her phone rang. Detective Martinez. We executed the search warrant, Martinez said without preamble. We found the room in the basement just as Lily described it. Locked from the outside, no windows, bucket in the corner. There's evidence she was kept there regularly. Relief flooded through Emily. So you have what you need to keep her safe? It's compelling evidence, Martinez agreed. But the Collins are already claiming it was a punishment room used very sparingly for extreme behavioral episodes. They've got a child psychiatrist, willing to testify that such methods can be appropriate for children with severe attachment disorders. That's barbaric, Emily exclaimed. I agree. But we're up against a well-crafted narrative and unlimited resources. We've also confirmed that the Dr. Maxwell who supposedly treated Lily isn't licensed to practice psychiatry. He's a research pharmacologist who works for a company owned by Collins Enterprises. They were experimenting on her? Emily felt sick. We don't know the extent yet, but this case just got a lot more complicated. After hanging up, Emily returned to the kitchen to find Samantha kneeling beside Lily, examining her drawing, a detailed sketch of a room with no windows, a single mattress on the floor, and a bucket in the corner. Above the drawing, in careful, childish printing, Lily had written, "The bad place." Samantha met Emily's eyes, her skepticism vanishing as understanding dawned. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It's all true, isn't it?" Emily nodded grimly. "And we have 2 days to convince a judge of that, or they might send her back." The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Nathan spent hours at Emily's kitchen table reviewing documents while Emily tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy for Lily. They visited the garden center as promised, where Lily carefully selected 3 small plants, a peace lily, a tea, spider plant, and a small cactus that made her smile. "Cacti survive harsh conditions," she explained solemnly. "They're strong, even when it's hard." On Sunday afternoon, Emily's ex-husband James unexpectedly appeared on her doorstep, tall and athletic with kind eyes that had once made her feel like the luckiest woman alive. He now stood awkwardly on her porch, hands shoved in his jacket pockets. "Sam called me," he explained. "Said you might need support tomorrow." Emily hesitated. After Michael's death, their grief had driven them apart rather than bringing them together. James had thrown himself into work, while Emily retreated into silence. The divorce had been amicable but final, or so she'd thought. "Come in," she said finally. "There's someone you should meet." Lily was initially wary of James, but his gentle demeanor and the model airplane kit he'd brought as a getting to know you gift gradually won her over. By evening, they were seated at the dining table, carefully gluing tiny pieces together while Emily prepared dinner. "She's extraordinary," James said quietly when Lily went to wash her hands. "What you're doing for her, it's important, Emily." "I know," Emily replied, surprised by the emotion in his voice. "I'll be there tomorrow, at the hearing." "You don't have to." "I want to," he interrupted. "I should have been there for you after." "Michael, I won't make that mistake again." Before Emily could respond, her phone rang. Nathan, his voice tight with concern. "We have a problem. Judge Winters has recused herself due to a conflict of interest. The emergency hearing has been reassigned to Judge Stanley Peterson." "Is that bad?" Emily asked, noting the worry in Nathan's voice. "Potentially. Peterson is notoriously pro-family reunification, and he's socially connected to several boards the Collins serve on. I'm filing for a different judge, but it's unlikely to be granted by morning." After hanging up, Emily explained the situation to James, who frowned thoughtfully. "Stanley Peterson. Catherine's husband?" "I think so. Why?" "I handled his sister's divorce 3 years ago. Messy case." James was a family law attorney, though he'd switched primarily to mediation after Michael's death. He's conservative but not unreasonable. Evidence matters to him. "Then we need more evidence," Emily said, glancing toward Lily, who had returned and was carefully arranging napkins on the table. But I don't want to put her through more questioning. Sometimes, the truth has a way of emerging when we least expect it, James said quietly. That night after Lily was asleep, Emily found herself unable to rest. She paced her small living room, second-guessing everything. Was she doing the right thing? Was she fighting for Lily? Or was this about her own need for redemption after failing to save Michael? A small sound from Lily's room interrupted her thoughts. Emily found the girl thrashing in her sleep, tears streaming down her face. "No, please," Lily whimpered. "I'll be good. Don't lock me in." "Lily, wake up," Emily said gently, careful not to touch her. "You're having a nightmare." Lily's eyes flew open, wild with terror, until recognition dawned. "Ms. Thompson?" "You're safe," Emily assured her. "You're at my house, remember?" Lily nodded, her breathing gradually slowing. "I dreamed. They took me back. That's not going to happen. But what if the judge believes them? Aunt Diane is good at making people believe her. She told everyone Mom was crazy and that's why I have problems." Emily sat on the edge of the bed. "Your mom wasn't crazy and you don't have problems, Lily. You've been hurt by people who should have protected you." Lily pulled her stuffed rabbit closer. "Mom tried to keep me away from them. She didn't want me to visit, even before she got sick. She said Uncle Robert wasn't a good person." Emily felt a chill. "Did something happen when you visited them?" Lily's face clouded. "Uncle Robert took pictures sometimes, of me and other kids at their parties, in swimsuits or special clothes he bought. Mom got really mad when she found out." Alarm bells rang in Emily's mind. "Lily, did you tell Detective Martinez about this?" Lily shook her head. "Aunt Diane said if I ever told anyone about the special parties, I'd go to jail because I took the nice presents. She said that's the same as stealing." Emily fought to keep her expression neutral despite her horror. "Sweetheart, taking pictures of children like that is wrong. You didn't do anything bad." In the morning, Emily called Detective Martinez while Lily was in the shower. The detective's response was immediate and grim. "I'm getting a warrant for all their electronic devices right now. If what she's describing is what I think it is, this case just escalated significantly." "Will it be enough to stop today's hearing?" Emily asked. "Unlikely," Martinez said. "The search will take time, and we need probable cause for devices not covered in our original warrant. Keep Lily safe at the courthouse. I'll get there as soon as I can." The county courthouse was an imposing granite building that made Emily feel small as she guided Lily up the wide steps. The girl wore her nicest outfit, a floral dress and cardigan Samantha had brought over, but clung to Emily's hand with a death grip. "Remember," Emily said gently, "all you have to do is tell the truth. Mr. Reed and I will be right there with you." Inside, the hallway bustled with attorneys and clients. Nathan met them at the entrance to Family Court 3, his expression grave. The Collins just arrived, with entourage. Emily glanced down the hall to see Robert and Diane Collins surrounded by men in expensive suits. Their legal team, presumably. Diane caught Emily's eye and had the audacity to give a small, sad smile, as if they were old friends facing an unfortunate misunderstanding. Lily saw them too. Her hand turned ice cold in Emily's grip. "I can't," she whispered, trembling. "Ms. Thompson, please don't make me go in there." Emily knelt to eye level with Lily. "Remember what we talked about? The judge just wants to make sure you're safe. All you have to do is answer his questions honestly." "But what if—" "Ah, there she is. Our little niece." Robert Collins loomed over them, his expression a perfect mask of avuncular concern. Behind him, Diane dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "Lily, sweetheart," Robert continued, reaching toward her. "We've been so worried." Lily shrank back, pressing against Emily's side. Nathan stepped between them. "Mr. Collins, please maintain your distance. The protection order is still in effect." "A protection order based on false allegations," said a smooth voice. A distinguished man with silver temples extended his hand to Nathan. "Lawrence Blackwell, representing the Collins family." I trust we can resolve this unfortunate situation quickly and get this child back with her loving family where she belongs. Before Nathan could respond, the courtroom doors opened. The bailiff announced, "Emergency hearing for Collins versus Department of Child Services, Judge Peterson presiding. All parties please enter." Emily rose, keeping Lily close. "It's time," she whispered. "Remember, just tell the truth." As they entered the austere courtroom, Emily caught sight of James slipping into a back row. He gave her a small nod of encouragement as she guided Lily to their table, where Dr. Chen waited beside Nathan. Across the aisle, the Collins and their 3 attorneys arranged themselves with practiced precision. Judge Peterson, a stern-faced man in his 60s, surveyed the courtroom impassively. "Let's be clear," he began, his voice echoing in the high-ceilinged room. "The only matter before this court today is the emergency placement of the minor child, Lily Wilson. We are not here to adjudicate criminal charges, which will proceed through appropriate channels." He shuffled papers, then peered over his glasses directly at Lily. "Young lady, do you understand why you're here today?" Lily, pale but composed, nodded. "Speak up for the record, please." "Yes, Your Honor," she whispered. "Good. Before we begin formal testimony, I'd like to address the child directly, without attorneys. Ms. Thompson, as temporary guardian, you may remain." As the others retreated to their tables, Judge Peterson's stern expression softened slightly. "Lily, I've been doing this job a long time. My most important responsibility is making sure children are safe. To do that, I need to hear the truth. Your truth. Can you tell me what happened at your aunt and uncle's house?" Lily glanced at Emily, who nodded encouragingly. Then, in a small but clear voice, she began to speak. "They were nice at first," Lily began, her voice barely audible in the large courtroom. "After Mom died, they bought me toys and let me eat ice cream for dinner sometimes." Judge Peterson nodded encouragingly. "And then what changed?" Lily twisted the hem of her dress nervously. "Aunt Diane said I was making too much noise, that I was spoiled. She said Mom had ruined me." From the corner of her eye, Emily saw Diane Collins shake her head in theatrical dismay. Robert patted his wife's hand comfortingly, playing the role of supportive husband perfectly. "What happened when you were too noisy?" the judge pressed gently. "The first time, she just sent me to my room. But then," Lily's voice faltered. "Then she showed me the special room in the basement. She said it was a quiet place where I could think about my behavior." "Can you describe this room?" Lily described. The windowless space in clinical detail, the bare mattress on the floor, the bucket for bathroom needs, the single light bulb controlled by a switch outside. "And how long would you stay in this room?" "Different times. Sometimes just one night. Once, after I asked to call Grandma Jean, I stayed there for 4 days." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Even Judge Peterson's composed expression flickered, momentarily. 4 days? Were you given food during this time?" "A sandwich and water, but not every day." Aunt Diane said, "Hunger helps build character." Emily felt physically ill. Beside her, Dr. Chen was taking rapid notes, occasionally shaking, her head in horrified disbelief. "Lily," Judge Peterson continued carefully, "did you ever see a doctor while living with your aunt and uncle? Someone who might have helped you with these difficult experiences?" "Uncle Robert's friend came sometimes. He gave me pills." Lily's voice became monotone as if reciting a lesson. "He said I had attachment disorder and oppositional defiance syndrome. The pills made me sleepy." "Did this person ever examine you? Or talk to you about your feelings?" Lily shook her head. "He just talked to Aunt Diane and Uncle Robert. They said he was helping fix my broken brain." Judge Peterson's expression hardened, almost imperceptibly, before he continued. "Can you tell me about the special parties your uncle mentioned?" Emily tensed. Lily hadn't mentioned the parties to Judge Peterson earlier. How did he know to ask? Lily's breathing quickened. "I don't want to talk about those," she whispered. "I understand it's difficult," the judge said gently. "But it's important, Lily." Lily looked at Emily, her eyes pleading for rescue. Emily nodded encouragingly, though her heart ached. Uncle Robert has important friends, Lily finally said. They came for parties sometimes. I had to wear special clothes and be nice to his friends. What kind of special clothes? Swimsuits sometimes, even though there's no pool. Or dress-up clothes like a princess or, she faltered, or like a grown-up lady. Judge Peterson's face remained impassive, though his knuckles whitened as he gripped his pen. Did these friends ever touch you or the other children? Objection. Lawrence Blackwell was on his feet. Your Honor, this goes far beyond the scope of an emergency placement hearing and veers into unsupported allegations of criminal conduct. Mr. Blackwell, I permitted direct questioning of the minor without interruption, Judge Peterson said coldly. Sit down. He turned back to Lily. You don't have to answer that question right now, Lily. Just one more thing. You mentioned other children at these parties? Lily nodded. Sometimes other kids came. They wore special clothes too. Uncle Robert took pictures of all of us. At this, Diane Collins let out a theatrical sob. Robert leaned to whisper urgently to his attorneys. Thank you, Lily, Judge Peterson said. You've been very brave. You can return to your seat now. As formal testimony began, Nathan presented evidence of Lily's physical condition when found, including medical reports documenting malnutrition, bruising, and traces of unidentified sedatives in her system. Dr. Chen testified about Lily's trauma symptoms, which she deemed consistent with prolonged captivity and emotional abuse. The Collins attorney countered with affidavits from family friends attesting to Robert and Diane's exemplary character. He presented Lily's troubled history, including reports from her previous school noting behavioral issues after her mother's illness. Records Emily strongly suspected had been altered or selectively presented. The child clearly has psychological issues stemming from the loss of her mother, Blackwell argued smoothly. My clients were attempting to provide structure and appropriate therapeutic intervention for a deeply disturbed child. Emily gritted her teeth, watching Diane dabbing tears with her handkerchief on cue. The performance was as calculated as it was nauseating. Finally, Detective Martinez rushed in, approaching Nathan to whisper urgently in his ear. Nathan's eyes widened as he quickly passed a note to Judge Peterson, who read it with an inscrutable expression. In light of new information presented to the court, Judge Peterson announced, I'm calling a 30-minute recess. Counsel for both parties, please join me in chambers immediately. As they filed out, Emily pulled Nathan aside. What happened? Nathan's expression was grim but hopeful. They found something on Robert Collins's computer. Martinez wouldn't give details, but it's significant enough that the FBI has been called in. The 30-minute recess stretched to an hour. Emily sat with Lily in a small conference room, trying to distract her with games on Emily's phone. James brought them sandwiches, his presence a surprising comfort. You're doing the right thing, he said quietly to Emily. Regardless of the outcome, you stood up for her when she needed someone. When court resumed, the change in atmosphere was palpable. Two unfamiliar men in suits, federal agents, Emily guessed, had joined Detective Martinez at the back of the courtroom. Robert Collins was notably agitated, repeatedly conferring with his attorneys. Judge Peterson's expression was stone cold as he addressed the court. Based on evidence presented during this hearing, and additional information that has just come to my attention, I am issuing an immediate indefinite protection order prohibiting Robert and Diane Collins from any contact with the minor child, Lily Wilson. A collective gasp rose from the observers, followed by Robert Collins' outraged, "This is outrageous! We haven't been charged with anything!" Not yet, Judge Peterson replied icily. But I understand that's imminent. Bailiff, please ensure Mr. and Mrs. Collins remain in the courtroom until federal agents have completed their business. He turned to Nathan. The court approves continued emergency placement with Ms. Thompson, pending full foster care evaluation. Additionally, I'm ordering comprehensive psychological evaluation and treatment for Lily, with all costs to be borne by the Collins estate. Relief flooded through Emily. Next to her, Lily's rigid posture gradually relaxed as she realized what the judge's words meant. "We will reconvene in 30 days to reassess permanent placement options," Judge Peterson continued. "At that time, I expect a full report on any identified relatives who might serve as appropriate guardians." As the judge adjourned the proceedings, Emily noticed the federal agents approaching Robert Collins, who had turned an ashen gray. Diane was openly weeping now. Her perfect composure finally cracked. Outside the courtroom, Detective Martinez caught up with them. "We can't discuss details of an ongoing investigation," she told Emily quietly. "But you should know that what we found goes far beyond Lily's case. There appears to be a pattern involving multiple children over several years." Emily tightened her arm around Lily's shoulders, the implications making her stomach turn. "Will she have to testify again?" Emily asked, dreading the answer. "Eventually, yes, but not immediately, and we'll make it as trauma-informed as possible." Martinez knelt to Lily's level. "You were very brave today, Lily. You helped protect other children too, though you didn't know it." As they stepped outside the courthouse, Emily was dismayed to see reporters gathering at the bottom of the steps. The Collins case was already becoming news. "I'll create a diversion," James offered, guiding them toward a side exit where his car waited. Nathan texted, "He'll meet you at home later to discuss next steps." On the drive back to Emily's apartment, Lily was quiet, staring out the window as city streets gave way to Emily's suburban neighborhood. Finally, in a small voice, she asked, "Is it really over?" Emily wanted desperately to say yes, to promise that the worst was behind them. But she wouldn't lie to Lily, not even to comfort her. "The hardest part is over," she said carefully. "The judge believed you, and your aunt and uncle can't hurt you anymore. But there will be more meetings and probably more court days as people figure out what happens next. Will I stay with you?" The question was simple but loaded with meaning. Emily chose her words carefully. "For now, yes. The judge said you'll stay with me while they look for any other family you might have, maybe grandparents or aunts and uncles, from your mom's side." Lily frowned. "There's only Grandma Jean, but she's in a home for old people who can't remember things. Mom said she doesn't know who we are anymore." Emily made a mental note to discuss this with Nathan. If there truly were no viable family members, Lily's long-term future remained uncertain. As they turned onto Emily Street, Lily suddenly sat up straight. "Can we check on the plants? I want to make sure the cactus is okay." Emily smiled, recognizing this for what it was. Lily's way of claiming normalcy, of asserting that life could continue beyond trauma. "Absolutely," she said. "And maybe after that we could bake cookies. I think we both deserve something sweet after today." For the first time since Emily had known her, Lily's smile reached her eyes. "I'd like that," she said softly. "Mom used to say cookies make even the worst days better." "Your mom sounds like a very wise woman," Emily replied, thinking that Charlotte Wilson would be proud of her daughter's incredible courage. As they walked up the path to Emily's front door, Lily reached for her hand, a small gesture of trust that felt more significant than any victory in court. The next 2 weeks settled into a cautious routine. Emily took extended leave from school, arranging for a long-term substitute to cover her class. Each morning, she and Lily would tend to their small collection of plants, which had expanded to include herbs growing in the kitchen window. Afternoons were filled with therapy appointments, interviews with investigators, and the occasional visit from Nathan to update them on the case. On this particular morning, Emily watched as Lily carefully measured water for each plant, her tongue caught between her teeth in concentration. "Plants need consistency," Lily explained seriously. "Too much water is as bad as not enough." "That's true for people too sometimes," Emily replied, setting breakfast on the table. "Too much of anything can be overwhelming." Lily considered this, nodding slowly. "Like questions. Detective Martinez asks a lot of questions." "Does that bother you?" Emily asked carefully. "Sometimes," Lily admitted, "but she doesn't get mad when I don't remember things, and she lets me hold Rabbit during interviews." Rabbit, her tattered stuffed animal, had become a constant companion during difficult conversations. "That's good. You know you can always ask for a break if it gets too much." Lily nodded, joining Emily at the table. As they ate, Emily noticed how the girl's appearance had changed in just 2 weeks. Her cheeks had filled out, the dark circles. Under her eyes had faded, and her hair, now neatly trimmed by Samantha, who had become a regular visitor, shone with health. The doorbell rang, startling them both. Emily wasn't expecting anyone this early. "It's probably just a package," she reassured Lily, who still tensed at unexpected visitors. "I ordered those books we talked about." But when Emily opened the door, she found a slender, elegant woman in her 60s standing on her porch. Silver-streaked, dark hair framed a face that immediately struck Emily as familiar. "Ms. Thompson?" the woman asked, her voice cultured but uncertain. "I'm Jean Wilson, Lily's grandmother." Emily stared in shock. According to what Lily had said, her grandmother was in a memory care facility, unable to recognize her own family. "Ms. Wilson, Grandma Jean," Lily's scream of joy interrupted as she barreled past Emily and threw herself into the woman's arms. Jean Wilson knelt, embracing her granddaughter with tears streaming down her face. "My Lily flower," she whispered. "I've been looking for you for so long." Emily stood frozen, watching their reunion with a mixture of joy and confusion. Finally, she found her voice. "Please come in. I think we have a lot to talk about." In the living room, Lily clung to her grandmother's side, unwilling to be separated even by inches. John kept one arm around her granddaughter as she explained. "I never had dementia. That was a lie Charlotte was forced to tell Lily." Her voice shook with controlled anger. "Robert Collins, my son-in-law, had me committed to a private psychiatric facility shortly after Charlotte's diagnosis, claiming I was experiencing psychotic delusions. But that's," Emily began. "Criminal? Yes. But when you have enough money and influence, you can make almost anything happen." Jean's bitter tone spoke of hard-earned knowledge. Robert controlled everything after Charlotte got sick: her medical care, her finances, access to Lily. He isolated her completely. "But why?" Emily asked, struggling to understand. "Because I knew what he was," Jean said simply. "And I was trying to get Charlotte and Lily away from him. When Charlotte was diagnosed with terminal cancer, she finally agreed to leave him, but by then it was too late. He used her illness against her, had her declared unfit to make decisions once she was gone." Jean's voice broke. "I was committed 3 days after her funeral." "How did you get out? How did you find us?" Emily asked. "A nurse at the facility recognized me from news coverage of the Collins case. She helped me contact an attorney who secured my release and put me in touch with Detective Martinez." Jean squeezed Lily tighter. "I've been searching for you since Charlotte died, sweetheart. I never stopped." Lily looked up at her grandmother with adoring eyes. "Aunt Diane said you were sick in your mind, that you couldn't remember me anymore." "Never," Jean said fiercely. "I could never forget you." Emily's phone rang. "Nathan." With a murmured excuse, she stepped into the kitchen to answer. "I was just about to call you," she said without preamble. "Lily's grandmother is here." "Jean Wilson," Nathan confirmed. "That's actually why I'm calling. She checked out. Her story about being wrongfully committed appears legitimate. The facility records show she was admitted on Robert Collins' authority with questionable psychiatric evaluation. She seems genuinely devoted to Lily," Emily said, watching through the doorway, as grandmother and granddaughter remained locked in conversation, heads close together. "This changes the placement situation," Nathan said carefully. "As the only living blood relative who's fit to provide care, Jean will have priority for custody." Emily's heart constricted painfully. Of course, this was good news, the best possible outcome for Lily. So why did it feel like losing? "Ms. Thompson? Emily?" Jean Wilson stood in the kitchen doorway. "Lily wanted to show me her plants. I hope that's all right." "Of course," Emily said, forcing a smile. "I was just talking to Nathan Reed from Child Services. He's been managing Lily's case." "Yes, I spoke with him yesterday," Jean confirmed. "He's been very helpful. I understand I have you to thank for saving my granddaughter." Anyone would have done the same, Emily demurred. No, Jean said firmly. They wouldn't. Detective Martinez told me how you fought for her, even against considerable pressure. I'm eternally grateful. Later that morning, Nathan arrived to discuss transition plans. Jean Wilson had secured a 2-bedroom apartment nearby and was prepared to take full custody of Lily. The court will need to formalize the arrangement, Nathan explained, but given the circumstances, I don't anticipate any issues. How soon? Emily asked, dreading the answer. The hearing is scheduled for Friday. Assuming the judge approves, Lily could move in with her grandmother as early as this weekend. 3 days. Emily felt a cold hollowness spreading through her chest. She'd known from the beginning that her role in Lily's life was temporary, but somehow in the daily routine of caring for the little girl, she'd allowed herself to forget. What about the Collins investigation? She asked, grasping for practical matters to focus on. Will that affect the custody decision? No, Nathan assured her. Robert and Diane Collins remain in custody without bail. The FBI investigation has expanded significantly. They've identified at least 7 other children involved in what appears to be a trafficking ring, operating under the guise of elite private parties. None of that impacts Jean's suitability as a guardian. Lily has therapy appointments scheduled through next month, Emily said. Dr. Chen says consistency is crucial right now. I've already spoken with Dr. Chen, Jean interjected gently. I plan to continue all of Lily's current support services. I understand the importance of stability, especially given what she's been through. Emily nodded, unable to argue with Jean's thoughtful approach. The woman was doing everything right, showing appropriate concern for Lily's mental health, arranging housing nearby so Lily wouldn't have to change schools, even reaching out to Emily's sister for advice on local resources. After Nathan left, Emily found Lily and Jean looking through a photo album Jean had brought, pictures of Lily as a baby, of Charlotte healthy and smiling, of family vacations from before Robert Collins entered their lives. Look, Ms. Thompson, Lily called excitedly. That's me when I was 3, and that's Mom when she didn't have cancer. Emily joined them on the couch, appropriately admiring each photograph while a lump formed in her throat. This was right. This was healing. This was what Lily needed, connection to her past, to her mother's memory, to the family that had loved her before tragedy struck. Later, when Jean stepped out to take a phone call, Lily turned to Emily with unexpected seriousness. Grandma Jean says I'll live with her now, is that true? Emily nodded, forcing a smile. Yes. The judge will make it official on Friday, but she's your grandmother and she loves you very much. You belong together? Lily's brow furrowed. But what about you? I'll still be around, Emily assured her. You'll still go to Lincoln Elementary and I'll be back teaching there soon. We can have visits and… But it won't be the same, Lily interrupted, suddenly tearful. You saved me. You believed me when nobody else did. Emily pulled Lily into a gentle hug, her own eyes burning with unshed tears. Your grandmother would have believed you too, sweetheart. She was looking for you all this time. I know, Lily whispered. But I still need you too. Emily stroked Lily's hair, her heart simultaneously breaking and expanding. And I'll be here. That's not going to change. Loving people isn't a limited resource. There's always enough to go around. When Jean returned, she seemed to sense the emotional moment she'd interrupted. She sat beside them, hesitantly placing a hand on Emily's arm. I hope you know, she said quietly, that you'll always be part of Lily's life. You're the hero in her story, in our family's story. That creates a bond that doesn't just disappear. Emily nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. For 3 years since Michael's death, she'd moved through life in a fog of grief and purposeless routine. Finding Lily had awakened her, reminded her what it meant to fight for something that mattered. Now she needed to learn the most difficult lesson of all, how to let go while still holding on. On Friday morning, Emily helped Lily pack her belongings. It wasn't much. Some clothes purchased during their time together, the plants they'd selected, books from the library, and of course Rabbit, who presided over the packing. from his place of honor on Lily's pillow. Do you think Grandma Jean's apartment has good light for the plants? Lily asked, carefully wrapping the small cactus in tissue paper. I'm sure it does, Emily replied, folding a sweater. And if not, she'll find a good spot for them. She knows. How important they are to you? Lily nodded, seemingly satisfied. She'd been unusually quiet all morning, responding to Emily's gentle attempts at conversation with one-word answers or distracted nods. Finally, as they placed the last book in a small duffel bag, Lily turned to Emily with tear-filled eyes. What, if I forget? Forget what, sweetheart? Emily asked, sitting on the bed and patting the space beside her. Lily climbed up, hugging Rabbit to her chest. What if I forget what happened? At Aunt Diane and Uncle Robert's house. She shuddered slightly. The detective said I'll have to talk about it at the trial. But what if I can't remember everything? Emily chose her words carefully. First, the trial is a long way off. And second, Dr. Chen says some memories might become less sharp over time, and that's actually okay. It's your brain's way of protecting you. But I need to remember, Lily insisted, for the other kids, so they can be safe too. The weight of responsibility on this small girl's shoulders made Emily's heart ache. Detective Martinez and the FBI are helping those children now. They have evidence that doesn't depend just on your memories. The pictures? Lily asked in a small voice. Emily nodded, stomach churning at the thought of what investigators had discovered on Robert Collins' encrypted hard drives. Yes, and other things too. Lily seemed to consider this, her face solemn beyond her years. Ms. Thompson, can I ask you something important? Of course. Is it okay if I'm happy to live with Grandma Jean but also sad to leave you? Emily wrapped an arm around Lily's thin shoulders. That's more than okay. It's perfectly normal to have mixed feelings, especially about big changes. I feel the same way. Happy for you, but a little sad for me. Lily leaned against her. Grandma Jean says you can visit whenever you want and we can have dinner together sometimes. I'd like that very much. And you'll be at court today? Lily asked anxiously. Front row, Emily promised. James is driving. Us both. When Jean arrived to help with the move, she brought a surprise, a small decorative planter in the shape of a rabbit. For your cactus, she told Lily with a smile. I thought it would match your special friend. Lily's face lit up as she carefully transferred her prized plant to its new home. The thoughtful gesture confirmed what Emily had observed over the past few days. Jean Wilson was perceptive, kind, and genuinely attuned to her granddaughter's needs. At the courthouse, they joined Nathan in the hallway outside family court too. Unlike the tense emergency hearing, today's proceedings were expected to be straightforward. Judge Peterson had reviewed Jean's background check, home evaluation, and financial documentation, all of which supported her petition for custody. There's one more thing you should know, Nathan told them quietly. Diane Collins has agreed to testify against her husband in exchange for a reduced sentence. She's providing details about the entire operation, including names of other participants. Will that help the case? Emily asked. Immensely. Robert Collins is looking at decades in federal prison. Most of their assets will likely be seized under criminal forfeiture laws. Good, Jean said firmly. Let him rot. But what about Diane? She was complicit in Lily's abuse. She'll still serve time, Nathan assured them. The deal only reduces her sentence, not eliminates it, and she's providing valuable testimony about other children who were victimized. Before they could discuss further, the bailiff called them into the courtroom. Unlike the packed emergency hearing, today's proceedings were relatively quiet. James slipped in just as they were being seated, giving Emily an encouraging smile as he sat behind her. Judge Peterson entered, acknowledging them with a nod before proceeding with the formalities. After reviewing the documentation and hearing brief testimony from Jean, Nathan, and Dr. Chen, he addressed the court. Based on the evidence presented, I find that Jean Wilson is a fit and proper person to have custody of her granddaughter, Lily Wilson. The criminal actions of Robert and Diane Collins, including their fraudulent commitment of Ms. Wilson, constituted an unconscionable interference with the natural family relationship. He turned to Jean. Ms. Wilson, the court grants your petition for permanent legal and physical custody of your granddaughter. Additionally, I'm ordering that a portion of the Collins assets pending criminal forfeiture proceedings be placed in a trust for Lily's future educational and therapeutic needs. Relief washed over Jean's face. Thank you, Your Honor. Judge. Peterson then surprised them by addressing Lily directly. Young lady, I want you to know that throughout these proceedings, you have demonstrated remarkable courage. Your willingness to speak the truth despite your fear has not only secured your own safety but has protected other children as well. That is truly commendable. Lily, who had been sitting quietly beside Jean, straightened at the judge's words. Thank you, she whispered. Finally, Judge Peterson turned to Emily. Ms. Thompson, the court recognizes the exceptional role you played in this case. Your intervention and subsequent care for Lily likely saved her life and certainly preserved her well-being. It's people like you who remind us that sometimes the system works because caring individuals refuse to look the other way. Emily blinked back tears, nodding her acknowledgement. Outside the courtroom, Nathan shook hands with Jean and offered final instructions about follow-up appointments and paperwork. Emily stood slightly apart, giving them space while struggling. With her own emotions, James approached, gently touching her shoulder. You okay? I will be, she replied honestly. It's the right outcome, I know that. Doesn't make it easy, though. Emily shook her head. Before she could respond, Lily appeared at her side, slipping a small hand into hers. Grandma Jean says we can get ice cream to celebrate. Will you come too? Looking into those hopeful eyes that now held trust instead of terror, Emily found herself smiling genuinely. I'd love to. After ice cream, they drove to Jean's apartment to help Lily settle in. The two-bedroom unit was simply but comfortably furnished, with plenty of natural light for the plants and walls already adorned with family photographs rescued from storage. This was your mom's favorite, Jean explained, showing Lily a framed picture of Charlotte as a teenager, laughing as waves crashed around her at the beach. She loved the ocean. I remember, Lily said softly. She took me to see the waves once. She let me put my toes in even though it was cold. Jean smiled through tears. That sounds like Charlotte. She never could resist the water no matter the temperature. As Lily explored her new bedroom, painted a cheerful yellow with a proper bed, desk, and bookshelf, Emily helped Jean arrange the kitchen, storing groceries they'd picked up on the way. I can't thank you enough, Jean said quietly as they worked. Not just for finding her, but for showing her that adults can be trusted again. Dr. Chen says that's crucial for recovery from trauma, having at least one reliable adult figure. She's an extraordinary child, Emily replied, resilient beyond belief. Jean nodded, then reached into a drawer and pulled out a small gift box. This is for you. A small token of my appreciation, though nothing could ever truly express what you've done for our family. Emily opened the box to find a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a lily flower. It's beautiful, she whispered. Charlotte had one just like it, Jean explained. I thought you should have something to remember this time, even as we all move forward. Later, as Emily prepared to leave, Lily insisted on walking her to the door. The girl seemed different already, more settled perhaps, knowing she was truly home with family who loved her. Will you come for dinner on Sunday? Lily asked. Grandma Jean is making lasagna, and she says you can bring your sister if you want. I'd like that, Emily said, kneeling to hug her. You call me if you need anything, okay? Anytime. Lily nodded solemnly. I promise. Then, with the directness that still occasionally took Emily by surprise, she added, Ms. Thompson, I think your son would be proud of you for helping me. Emily froze, momentarily speechless. She'd mentioned Michael only once, briefly, when explaining the photograph in her living room. She hadn't realized Lily had absorbed this information so completely. Thank you, Lily, she finally managed, her voice thick with emotion. That means more than you know. As Emily drove home to her suddenly quiet apartment, she touched the silver lily pendant at her throat. For 3 years, she'd been sleepwalking through life, her grief for Michael a weight that dragged her deeper into isolation with each passing day. Finding Lily hadn't erased that grief. Nothing ever would. But it had reminded Emily that her heart still worked, that she was still capable of fighting fiercely for something that mattered. The hollow ache of saying goodbye was proof not of loss, but of love. When she arrived home, Emily found herself walking from room to room, noticing the small traces Lily had left behind. A crayon drawing magnetized to the refrigerator, a children's book forgotten under the coffee table, the lingering scent of the hot chocolate they'd shared that morning. On impulse, she sent a text to James. "Thank you for your support through all of this. It meant a lot." His reply came quickly. "You did the hard part. I just drove the getaway car. Dinner tomorrow? Seems like we have some catching up to do." Emily smiled, surprised by the flutter of anticipation she felt. After a moment's hesitation, she replied, "I'd like that." Setting her phone down, Emily moved to the windowsill where a single plant remained. A small peace lily that Lily had insisted Emily keep, so you won't be lonely. She touched one glossy leaf gently, remembering Lily's careful watering routine. "Consistency," Emily murmured to herself, echoing Lily's serious instruction. Not too much, not too little. Perhaps that was the key to moving forward, finding the right balance between honoring the past and embracing the future, between holding on and letting go. For the first time in years, Emily felt ready to try. 3 months later, Emily stood at the front of her classroom, watching her 4th graders work on their science projects. Her return to teaching had been gradual, first part-time, then full days as she readjusted to the rhythm of school life. Principal Warner had been surprisingly supportive, perhaps feeling guilty about her initial reluctance to get involved with Lily's case. "Ms. Thompson?" A small hand shot up from the back row. "Can we use markers for our plant diagrams?" "Of course, Zach. Just make sure you label all the parts clearly." As Emily circulated among the desks offering guidance and encouragement, her mind drifted to Lily. They'd maintained regular contact. Sunday dinners at Jean's apartment had become a tradition, and Lily often called to share everyday triumphs and concerns. She was thriving in her new school, making friends and excelling academically despite the time she'd lost while with the Collins. The trial preparations, however, continued to cast a shadow. Robert Collins had rejected all plea deals, forcing the case toward a trial that would likely require Lily's testimony. Diane Collins, true to her agreement, had provided extensive information about their operation, revealing a network that extended to several prominent businessmen and one local politician. The lunch bell interrupted Emily's thoughts. As her students filed out, chattering excitedly, her phone buzzed with a text from Jean. "Can you come by after school? Need to discuss something important about the case." Emily's stomach tightened. Throughout the investigation, she'd tried to shield Lily from unnecessary stress while ensuring she was prepared for the reality of testifying. Had something changed? The afternoon dragged interminably, but finally Emily found herself at Jean's apartment. Lily greeted her with an enthusiastic hug before returning to her homework at the kitchen table, seemingly untroubled. "Thanks for coming," Jean said, leading Emily to the living room where they could speak privately. "Detective Martinez called this morning. They've scheduled Lily's formal deposition for next week." Emily nodded slowly. They'd known this was coming. "How is she handling it?" "Better than I am," Jean admitted with a weak smile. "But there's more. Robert Collins's defense team is pushing a new narrative. They're claiming Charlotte was involved, that she facilitated his photography sessions with Lily in exchange for financial support during her illness. That's absurd." Emily's voice rose before she caught herself, glancing toward the kitchen to ensure Lily hadn't heard. "It's despicable," Jean agreed, her voice tight with controlled fury. "Charlotte would have died before allowing anyone to harm her daughter. She spent her final months trying to get away from him. Do they have any evidence for this claim?" "Fabricated evidence, according to Martinez. Emails and text messages that appear to be from Charlotte but were almost certainly created after her death. The prosecution's tech experts are working to prove their forgeries. Emily shook her head in disgust. He's trying to tarnish Charlotte's memory to save himself. Does Lily know about this? Not yet. Martinez thinks we should prepare her, though. If Collins' team pursues this angle, they may try to question her about her mother's supposed involvement. The thought of Lily being manipulated into doubting her mother's love made Emily physically ill. What does Dr. Chen say? That we need to be honest with Lily but emphasize that these are lies meant to protect bad people. That her memories of her mother are real and valid. From the kitchen came the sound of Lily humming as she worked, a habit she'd developed recently as her confidence grew. The normality of the moment contrasted sharply with the darkness they were discussing. I'll help however I can, Emily promised. We'll get her through this. Jean's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what we would have done without you, Emily. You've become family to us. The word family resonated unexpectedly. Since Michael's death, Emily had defined herself primarily by what she'd lost. Now somehow her heart had expanded to include this brave little girl and her determined grandmother. Later, as they prepared dinner together, Lily insisting on making the salad herself, Emily watched the easy affection between grandmother and granddaughter. Despite everything, they were healing together, creating a new life from the fragments of their shattered past. Ms. Thompson, Lily said as they set the table. Grandma Jean says you and Mr. James are going to the theater on Saturday. Emily felt her cheeks warm. Her reconnection with James had progressed slowly from casual dinners to something that increasingly resembled dating, though neither had labeled it as such. Yes, we're seeing a play downtown. Is it like a date? Lily asked with the direct curiosity of an 8-year-old. Jean coughed, hiding a smile. Lily, remember what we discussed about personal questions? It's okay, Emily assured her. And yes, Lily, I suppose it is like a date. Lily nodded approvingly. Good, I like Mr. James. He doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby and he knows how to fix bicycles. James had indeed repaired Lily's second-hand bicycle the previous weekend, spending
hours adjusting the brakes and ensuring it was safe.
His patience and kindness with Lily had touched Emily deeply, revealing a side of him she'd nearly forgotten existed during their grief-stricken separation. After dinner, Emily helped Lily with her reading homework while Jean made phone calls. They had just finished when Detective Martinez arrived, her expression serious but kind as she greeted Lily. I hope I'm not interrupting, Martinez said. I wanted to update you in person about some case developments. While Lily continued reading, on the couch the adults gathered in the kitchen. Collins's defense strategy is falling apart, Martinez informed them quietly. Our tech team confirmed the emails were fabricated. More importantly, another victim has come forward, a former business associate's daughter who's now in college. She's willing to testify about abuse dating back a decade. That's significant, Jean said, an adult witness with no connection to Lily's case. Martinez nodded. The prosecutor believes it may be enough to push Collins toward a plea deal after all. If that happens, Lily might not need to testify in open court. Relief flickered across Jean's features. That would be a blessing. Don't celebrate yet, Martinez cautioned. Collins is unpredictable and his legal team is aggressive. The deposition will proceed as scheduled, and Lily should still be prepared for trial testimony. As Martinez prepared to leave, she crouched beside Lily, her professional demeanor softening. I hear you're doing great in school, she said, and that you've joined a science club. Lily nodded eagerly. We're growing beans in different conditions to see what helps them grow best. Mine are getting the tallest. I'm not surprised, Martinez smiled. You're quite the scientist. After Martinez left, Emily prepared to follow, gathering her belongings. Sunday dinner as usual? Jean confirmed. Wouldn't miss it, Emily replied. James might join us if that's all right. More than all right, Jean assured her. He's becoming part of the family, too. At the door, Lily hugged Emily tightly. Miss Thompson? Can I ask you something important? Of course. Lily glanced back to ensure her grandmother wasn't listening. If Mr. James becomes your boyfriend, does that mean you might get married again? Emily blinked, startled by the question. That's That's getting way ahead of things, Lily. We're just reconnecting as friends right now. But it could happen, right? Lily persisted. I suppose anything's possible. Why do you ask? Lily's expression grew serious. Because if you got married, you could have more children, and I think you'd be a really good mom. The simple statement hit Emily with unexpected force. The possibility of another child had seemed unthinkable after Michael, a betrayal of his memory somehow. Yet hearing Lily voice it so matter-of-factly made it suddenly startlingly real. That's very sweet of you to say, Emily managed, her voice thick with emotion. I just want you to be happy, Lily said with the guileless honesty of childhood, like I am with Grandma Jean. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Emily found herself staring at Michael's photograph. For so long, grief had been her closest companion, defining her existence and limiting her horizons. When had that begun to change? She thought of James, of how naturally they'd fallen back into rhythm with each other, older and sadder, but perhaps wiser too. She thought of Lily and Jean, and the unconventional family they were building together. She thought of her classroom, of the satisfaction she felt helping children discover their potential. None of it erased Michael. Nothing ever would. But perhaps honoring his memory didn't require preserving her life in amber, frozen at the moment of his death. Perhaps it meant embracing life with the same enthusiasm he had shown in his 2 brief years. Emily touched the silver lily pendant she now wore daily, a tangible reminder of unexpected connections and second chances. The future, which had for so long seemed like a bleak landscape to be endured, now held possibilities she was finally ready to explore. Her phone chimed with a text from James. Play tickets confirmed for Saturday. Dinner first? Emily smiled and typed her reply. Looking forward to it. Very much. The conference room at the district attorney's office was designed to be non-threatening, soft lighting, comfortable chairs, even a few children's drawings framed. On the walls, despite these efforts, Lily sat rigidly beside Jean, her knuckles white as she clutched Rabbit to her chest. Emily waited in a separate room down the hall, respecting the legal boundaries while remaining close enough to provide support, if needed. James sat beside her, having taken the morning off from his law practice to accompany her. How long will this take? Emily asked, checking her watch for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. Depositions can vary, James explained gently. Especially with a child witness. The prosecutor will be careful not to overwhelm her. Emily nodded, trying to quell her anxiety. The past week had been tense, with Lily experiencing renewed nightmares as the deposition approached. Dr. Chen had worked with her intensively, using play therapy and emotional regulation techniques to prepare her for the questioning. Mr. Reed said she'll have breaks if she needs them, Emily murmured, more to reassure herself than James. Nathan's good at his job, James agreed, and Jean won't let anyone push Lily too hard. The sound of a door opening made them both look up. Nathan appeared, his expression unreadable. How's it going? Emily asked immediately. They're taking a short break, Nathan explained. Lily's doing remarkably well, clear, consistent, and staying calm. But she asked if you could join them for the remainder of the session. Me? Is that allowed? The prosecutor approved it. She thinks having you there might help Lily through some of the more difficult questions coming up. Emily was on her feet instantly. James squeezed her hand. I'll wait here, he said. Give Lily my best. In the conference room, Lily's face brightened visibly when Emily entered. Jean, looking tired but composed, moved slightly to make room for Emily to sit between them. Ms. Thompson, Lily reached for her hand. They're asking lots of questions about the basement room and the parties. You're doing great, sweetheart, Emily assured her. Just keep telling the truth like we talked about. Across the table, Assistant District Attorney Marian Delgado offered Emily a professional nod. In her 50s, with steel gray hair and sharp eyes that softened when she addressed Lily, Delgado had a reputation as a formidable prosecutor with special expertise in cases involving child victims. Ms. Thompson, thank you for joining us, Delgado said. Lily seems to draw strength from your presence, which will be helpful as we move into more sensitive areas. A court reporter sat quietly in the corner, recording every word. 2 other attorneys were present, one from the FBI and one representing the Collins Insurance Company, which was facing civil liability claims. When the deposition resumed, Emily was struck by the careful, methodical way Delgado guided Lily through her experiences, breaking difficult topics into manageable questions and allowing frequent breaks. Lily maintained remarkable composure, though she squeezed Emily's hand tightly when discussing the special parties where Robert Collins and his associates had photographed children. "Did your mother ever attend these parties?" Delgado asked. Gently. "No," Lily said firmly. "Mom didn't like Uncle Robert. She said he was a bad influence." "Did she know about the parties or the photographs?" Lily shook her head vigorously. "She would have been really mad. When she got sick, we were supposed to move away, but then she went to the hospital and didn't come home." Emily exchanged glances with John, whose eyes shimmered with tears. Charlotte had tried to protect her daughter, but cancer had robbed her of the chance. "Lily," Delgado continued carefully, "the defense attorneys may try to suggest that your mother knew about these parties or even helped arrange them. Do you understand why they might say that?" Lily's brow furrowed. "Because they're liars. They want to blame Mom because she can't tell what really happened anymore." The simplicity and clarity of the child's assessment left the room momentarily silent. Even the court reporter paused, looking up from her machine. "That's exactly right," Delgado confirmed, seeming impressed by Lily's perception. "We have evidence that proves they're lying about your mother, but I wanted you to be prepared to hear those lies." After nearly 3 hours, with several breaks, the deposition concluded. Lily was exhausted but proud of herself for making it through. As they gathered their belongings, Delgado approached Emily privately. "Your influence on Lily has been tremendously positive," she observed. "Her resilience is remarkable for a child who endured such prolonged trauma." "She's an extraordinary girl," Emily replied. "Detective Martinez mentioned you were instrumental in discovering her situation. The system doesn't always work as it should. Without your intervention, I shudder to think what might have happened." In the hallway, they found James waiting patiently. He'd brought sandwiches and drinks, correctly anticipating that everyone would be hungry after the long session. "My hero," Emily smiled gratefully, suddenly realizing she was famished. Lily, her energy rebounding with the resilience of childhood, gave James a detailed account of the deposition as they ate, focusing on the least traumatic aspects. How the court reporter's machine worked, the fancy water glasses, the fact that Ms. Delgado had a picture of a cat on her notebook. "It sounds like you did a fantastic job," James told her seriously. "Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what's right even when you are scared." Lily considered this, then nodded. "Like Ms. Thompson when she found me. She was probably scared too, but she helped me anyway." The insight caught Emily by surprise. She hadn't considered that Lily might view her actions as requiring courage. At the time, helping Lily had felt like the only possible choice, not a brave one. After lunch, Nathan pulled Emily and Jean aside while James kept Lily occupied with a game on his phone. "Delgado thinks the deposition went extremely well," he reported. Lily's testimony, combined with the evidence from Collins' computers and Diane's cooperation, presents an overwhelming case. She's going to push hard for a plea deal now. "What are the chances?" Jean asked. "Better than 50% according to Delgado. Collins's attorney has to recognize the mounting evidence against his client. A plea would spare them all a public trial where even more damaging details might emerge." "And if there is a trial?" Emily asked. "Delgado will request special accommodations for Lily's testimony, closed courtroom video testimony, whatever makes it least traumatic." When they finally left the DA's office, Lily's exhaustion caught up with her. She fell asleep in the car, within minutes her head resting against Jean's shoulder. "Would you and James like to come over for dinner?" Jean asked softly. "Nothing fancy. Just takeout and quiet company after this difficult day." Emily glanced at James, who nodded. "We'd like that." At Jean's apartment, Lily remained asleep on the couch while the adults spoke in hushed tones in the kitchen. James, who had remained somewhat on the periphery of the case until now, asked thoughtful questions about the investigation and upcoming legal proceedings. The civil cases will proceed regardless of the criminal plea, he explained. I spoke with a colleague who specializes in victim compensation claims. He believes the insurance companies will settle rather than risk a jury verdict after the criminal case concludes. What does that mean for Lily? Jean asked. Potentially a substantial trust fund for her education and ongoing therapy needs, James replied. It won't undo what happened, but it can secure her future financially. As they set out plates for the Chinese food Jean had ordered, Lily appeared in the doorway, hair rumpled from sleep but eyes alert. Is Mr. James staying for dinner? She asked hopefully. If that's okay with you, James replied with a smile. Lily nodded enthusiastically. Good. I want to show you my science project. We're documenting the plant growth every day with photographs. Ms. Thompson helped me make a chart to track the results. Throughout dinner, Emily noticed how naturally James interacted with Lily, listening attentively to her chatter about school and friends, asking questions that showed genuine interest, rather than adult condescension. It was a side of him she'd glimpsed during their marriage, but that had flourished in his work with children of divorce. Later, while Jean helped Lily prepare for bed, Emily and James stepped out onto the small balcony of the apartment. The October evening was cool but not cold, the city lights creating a muted glow against the darkening sky. Thank you for coming today, Emily said. It meant a lot, to all of us. James leaned against the railing, his shoulder touching hers lightly. I'm glad I could help. Lily is. She's quite something, isn't she? She is, Emily agreed. Despite everything she's been through, she still approaches life with such openness and trust. It's humbling. Children are remarkably resilient when they have the right support. James paused, then added quietly, You've found your purpose again, Emily. It's good to see. The observation, simple but profound, made Emily's throat tighten with emotion. After Michael died, she'd felt hollowed out, as if her reason for existence had vanished. Teaching had been a lifeline, but finding Lily, fighting for her, protecting her, had awakened something deeper. I think I needed to be reminded that I could still make a difference, she admitted. That my life wasn't over just because his was, James nodded, understanding in his eyes. Their shared grief had once driven them apart, each retreating into private pain rather than supporting each other. Now, paradoxically, it had become a foundation for reconnection, a common language. The November brought early snow flurries and unexpected news. Emily was grading papers in her classroom after school when her phone rang. Marian Delgado, the prosecutor. Ms. Thompson, I wanted you to hear this directly from me, Delgado began without preamble. Robert Collins has agreed to a plea deal. Emily set down her red pen, heart suddenly racing. He's pleading guilty? To multiple federal charges, including production of child pornography, trafficking, and conspiracy. He'll serve a minimum of 25 years with no possibility of early release. Relief washed over Emily in a physical wave. And Lily won't have to testify. That's right. No trial testimony for any of the victims. That was our non-negotiable condition. Emily closed her eyes briefly, grateful beyond words. Thank you. That's wonderful news. There's more, Delgado continued. As part of the deal, Collins has provided information about other participants in the network. Federal agents are executing arrests in 3 states today. After hanging up, Emily sat motionless, absorbing the implications. For months, the possibility of a trial had loomed over Lily's recovery like a storm cloud, threatening to force her to relive her trauma in a public courtroom. Now that cloud had lifted. Emily's first instinct was to call Jean, but she caught herself. This news should be delivered in person. She quickly packed her things and headed for her car, stopping only to text James. Big news about the case. Meeting Jean and Lily now. Call you later. At Jean's apartment, Lily was practicing piano, a recent interest encouraged by her grandmother, who had finally been able to retrieve her own piano from storage. The simple melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star filled the space as Emily entered. "Miss Thompson." Lily abandoned the piano mid-phrase to greet her with an enthusiastic hug. "You're early. We weren't expecting you until dinner on Sunday. I had some news I wanted to share with you and your grandmother in person," Emily explained, making eye contact with Jean over Lily's head. Jean seemed to understand immediately that something significant had happened. "Lily, why don't you show Miss Thompson how your science project turned out while I make us some hot chocolate?" Once they were settled at the kitchen table with steaming mugs, Emily carefully explained the plea deal in terms Lily could understand. "So Mr. Collins admitted he did bad things?" Lily asked, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Yes," Emily confirmed, "and because he admitted it, there won't be a trial. You won't need to answer any more questions or talk about what happened in front of a judge." Lily seemed to process this, stirring her hot chocolate thoughtfully. "What about Aunt Diane?" "She already made her agreement with the prosecutors," Jean reminded her gently. "She'll spend time in prison too, but less because she helped the police find other children who were hurt. And those children are safe now?" "Yes," Emily assured her. "Detective Martinez made sure of that." Lily nodded, apparently satisfied. "Can I go finish my piano practice? I want to learn the whole song before my lesson tomorrow." After Lily returned to the piano, Jean let out a long, shuddering breath. "I've been dreading a trial for months. The thought of Lily being cross-examined, having to face him again." "I know." Emily reached across the table to squeeze Jean's hand. "It's over now. At least this part." "Not entirely over," Jean corrected, though her relief was evident. "There's still the civil case, but our attorney says that's likely to settle too, and Lily will need therapy for years to process everything." Emily nodded. "But she can focus on healing now, on being a child, without this hanging over her." They sat in companionable silence, listening to Lily's determined practice. "The same," phrase repeated, each attempt slightly smoother than the last. A perfect metaphor, Emily thought, for the process of healing. Progress wasn't linear, but with persistence, harmony gradually emerged from discord. "How are things with James?" Jean asked after a while, a knowing smile playing at her lips. Emily felt a flush rise to her cheeks. In the months since they'd reconnected, her relationship with James had evolved from cautious friendship to something deeper. They'd fallen into a comfortable routine of weekend dates and midweek dinners, rediscovering each other after years apart. "Good," she admitted. "Really good, actually. We're taking things slowly, but your heart remembers him," Jean finished knowingly. Emily nodded. "It's different this time. We're different. After Michael, we were both so broken, but now you've both done some healing," Jean said, "and found your way back to each other in the process." Later that evening, Emily met James for dinner at a small Italian restaurant they had frequented during their marriage. After sharing Delgado's news, they ordered a bottle of wine to celebrate. "To justice," James proposed, raising his glass, "and to Lily's freedom from this ordeal." They clinked glasses, but Emily noticed a certain hesitancy in James's manner, a distraction unusual for someone normally so present in conversation. "Is everything okay?" she asked after their main courses arrived. "You seem preoccupied." James set down his fork, took a deep breath, and reached for her hand across the table. "Emily, I've been thinking about us, about our past, our present, and what might come next." Emily's heart skipped a beat. They hadn't spoken explicitly about the future, maintaining an unspoken agreement to live in the present as they rediscovered their connection. "The day Michael died," James continued, his voice soft but steady, "I lost not only my son but also my compass. I didn't know how to grieve with you, so I grieved alone. We both did." Emily nodded, tears pricking at her eyes. "We didn't know how to help each other. But that doesn't mean we couldn't have learned given time," James said. "Instead, we let the distance grow until it seemed insurmountable." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "Watching you with Lily these past months, your courage, your compassion, your absolute determination to protect her. I've fallen in love with you all over again, Emily. Not despite our shared grief, but with a deeper understanding of who we both are because of it. Emily's breath caught. They hadn't used the word love since reconnecting. I'm not proposing marriage, James clarified quickly. Not yet, but I am proposing a future. One we build together intentionally and with open eyes about what we've lost and what we might still find. Emily felt tears spill onto her cheeks. But they weren't tears of sadness. For so long, she'd defined herself by absence, the absence of Michael, the absence of her marriage, the absence of the future she'd once envisioned. Now possibility was reawakening, tentative but undeniable. I'd like that, she whispered, squeezing his hand. Very much. The next morning, Emily woke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window, and the weight of James's arm draped around her waist. The intimacy they had rediscovered the night before felt both familiar and new, a homecoming to a place that had changed in their absence. As James slept, Emily slipped out of bed and padded to the kitchen to make coffee. On the windowsill, the peace lily. Lily had given her months ago had not only survived but thrived, producing a new white bloom that had opened overnight. Emily touched one glossy leaf gently, remembering Lily's solemn instructions about plant care. So much had changed since that traumatized child had first huddled in a school bathroom, uttering 3 words that had altered the course of multiple lives. She locked me. The horror of what Lily had endured would never completely fade, but neither would it define her. Already Emily could see how the girl was growing beyond her trauma, developing interests, forming friendships, creating a life filled with more than just survival. The coffee machine beeped, and moments later, James appeared in the doorway, hair rumpled from sleep. "Good morning," he said, accepting the mug she offered. "What is you looking so contemplative this early?" Emily nodded toward the peace lily. "Life finds a way, doesn't it? Even after the darkest winter." James followed her gaze, then drew her into a gentle embrace. "Yes," he agreed softly. "It does." It needed no translation. "Emily," he began hesitantly, "I've been thinking." The balcony door slid open, interrupting whatever he'd been about to say. Lily appeared in her pajamas, clutching Rabbit. "Grandma Jean says I can show you my chart before bed," she announced, oblivious to the moment she'd interrupted. "It's color-coded for different growing conditions." James smiled, whatever he'd been about to share set aside for another time. "Lead the way, Professor Wilson. I'm eager to see your scientific method in action." As they followed Lily inside, Emily felt a curious blend of emotions, a lingering sadness for all Lily had endured, hope for the healing that continued day by day, and something else, something tentative but growing stronger, the sense that perhaps her own life too was entering a new season of growth. November brought early snow flurries and unexpected news. Emily was grading papers in her classroom after school when her phone rang. Marian Delgado, the prosecutor. "Ms. Thompson, I wanted you to hear this directly from me," Delgado began without preamble. "Robert Collins has agreed to a plea deal." Emily set down her red pen, heart suddenly racing. "He's pleading guilty?" "To multiple federal charges, including production of child pornography, trafficking, and conspiracy. He'll serve a minimum of 25 years with no possibility of early release." Relief washed over Emily in a physical wave. "And Lily won't have to testify?" "That's right. No trial testimony for any of the victims. That was our non-negotiable condition." Emily closed, her eyes briefly grateful beyond words. "Thank you, that's wonderful news." "There's more," Delgado continued. "As part of the deal, Collins has provided information about other participants in the network. Federal agents are executing arrests in 3 states today. After hanging up, Emily sat motionless, absorbing the implications. For months, the possibility of a trial had loomed over Lily's recovery like a storm cloud, threatening to force her to relive her trauma in a public courtroom. Now that cloud had lifted, Emily's first instinct was to call Jean, but she caught herself. This news should be delivered in person. She quickly packed her things and headed for her car, stopping only to text James. Big news about the case. Meeting Jean and Lily now. Call you later. At Jean's apartment, Lily was practicing piano, a recent interest encouraged by her grandmother, who had finally been able to retrieve her own piano from storage. The simple melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star filled the space as Emily entered. Ms. Thompson. Lily abandoned the piano mid-phrase to greet her with an enthusiastic hug. You're early. We weren't expecting you until dinner on Sunday. I had some news I wanted to share with you and your grandmother in person, Emily explained, making eye contact with Jean over Lily's head. Jean seemed to understand immediately that something significant had happened. Lily, why don't you show Ms. Thompson how your science project turned out while I make us some hot chocolate? Once they were settled at the kitchen table with steaming mugs, Emily carefully explained the plea deal in terms Lily could understand. So, Mr. Collins admitted he did bad things? Lily asked, her brow furrowed in concentration. Yes, Emily confirmed. And because he admitted it, there won't be a trial. You won't need to answer any more questions or talk about what happened in front of a judge. Lily seemed to process this, stirring her hot chocolate thoughtfully. What about Aunt Diane? She already made her agreement with the prosecutors, Jean reminded her gently. She'll spend time in prison too, but less because she helped the police find other children who were hurt. And those children are safe now? Yes, Emily assured her. Detective Martinez made sure of that. Lily nodded, apparently satisfied. Can I go finish my piano practice? I want to learn the whole song before my lesson tomorrow. After Lily returned to the piano, Jean let out a long, shuddering breath. I've been dreading a trial for months. The thought of Lily being cross-examined, having to face him again. I know. Emily reached across the table to squeeze Jean's hand. It's over now, at least this part. Not entirely over, Jean corrected, though her relief was evident. There's still the civil case, but our attorney says that's likely to settle too. And Lily will need therapy for years to process everything. Emily nodded. But she can focus on healing now, on being a child, without this hanging over her. They sat in companionable silence, listening to Lily's determined practice. The same, phrase repeated, each attempt slightly smoother than the last. A perfect metaphor, Emily thought, for the process of healing. Progress wasn't linear, but with persistence, harmony gradually emerged from discord. How are things with James? Jean asked after a while, a knowing smile playing at her lips. Emily felt a flush rise to her cheeks. In the months since they'd reconnected, her relationship with James had evolved from cautious friendship to something deeper. They'd fallen into a comfortable routine of weekend dates and midweek dinners, rediscovering each other after years apart. Good, she admitted. Really good, actually. We're taking things slowly, but your heart remembers him, Jean finished. Knowingly, Emily nodded. It's different this time. We're different. After Michael, we were both so broken, but now you've both done some healing, Jean said, and found your way back to each other in the process. Later that evening, Emily met James for dinner at a small Italian restaurant they had frequented during their marriage. After sharing Delgado's news, they ordered a bottle of wine to celebrate. To justice, James proposed, raising his glass, and to Lily's freedom from this ordeal. They clinked glasses, but Emily noticed a certain hesitancy in James's manner, a distraction unusual for someone normally so present in conversation. Is everything okay? She asked after their main courses arrived. You seem preoccupied. James set down his fork, took a deep breath, and reached for her hand across the table. Emily, I've been thinking about us, about our past, our present, and what might come next. Emily's heart skipped a beat. They hadn't spoken explicitly about the future, maintaining an unspoken agreement to live in the present as they rediscovered their connection. The day Michael died, James continued, his voice soft but steady. I lost not only my son, but also my compass. I didn't know how to grieve with you, so I grieved alone. We both did. Emily nodded, tears pricking at her eyes. We didn't know how to help each other. But that doesn't mean we couldn't have learned, given time, James said. Instead, we let the distance grow until it seemed insurmountable. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Watching you with Lily these past months, your courage, your compassion, your absolute determination to protect her, I've fallen in love with you all over. Again, Emily. Not despite our shared grief, but with a deeper understanding of who we both are because of it. Emily's breath caught. They hadn't used the word love since reconnecting. I'm not proposing marriage, James clarified quickly. Not yet. But I am proposing a future, one we build together, intentionally, and with open eyes about what we've lost and what we might still find. Emily felt tears spill onto her cheeks, but they weren't tears of sadness. For so long, she'd defined herself by absence. The absence of Michael, the absence of her marriage, the absence of the future she'd once envisioned. Now possibility was reawakening, tentative but undeniable. I'd like that, she whispered, squeezing his hand. Very much. The next morning, Emily woke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window and the weight of James's arm draped around her waist. The intimacy they had rediscovered the night before felt both familiar and new, a homecoming to a place that had changed in their absence. As James slept, Emily slipped out of bed and padded to the kitchen to make coffee. On the windowsill, the peace lily. Lily had given her months ago had not only survived but thrived, producing a new white bloom that had opened overnight. Emily touched one glossy leaf gently, remembering Lily's solemn instructions about plant care. So much had changed since that traumatized child had first huddled in a school bathroom, uttering 3 words that had altered the course of multiple lives. She locked me. The horror of what Lily had endured would never completely fade, but neither would it define her. Already, Emily could see how the girl was growing beyond her trauma, developing interests, forming friendships, creating a life filled with more than just survival. The coffee machine beeped, and moments later, James appeared in the doorway, hair rumpled from sleep. Good morning, he said, accepting the mug she offered. What has you looking so contemplative this early? Emily nodded toward the peace lily. Life finds a way, doesn't it? Even after the darkest winter. James followed her gaze, then drew her into a gentle embrace. Yes, he agreed softly. It does. Christmas arrived with a fresh blanket of snow and a sense of possibility that Emily hadn't felt during the holiday season in years. The decorations in her apartment, a small tree adorned with colored lights, garlands draped along bookshelves, stockings, hung from the mantel, were the first she'd displayed since Michael's death. James had unofficially moved in 2 weeks prior, though he maintained his own apartment across town. The transition had been gradual and unplanned. Extra clothes in a drawer, a toothbrush in the bathroom, his favorite coffee mug finding permanent residence beside hers. Neither had officially acknowledged the shift, but both recognized its significance. The pie smells amazing, James commented, entering the kitchen where Emily was preparing for Christmas Eve dinner. Jean and Lily would be arriving soon, along with Samantha and her husband David. My mother's recipe, Emily replied, checking the turkey in the oven. It was Michael's favorite. The mention of their son's name no longer brought immediate pain, a change Emily had noticed gradually over recent months. Michael was becoming a presence they could acknowledge without shattering, a beloved memory rather than an open wound. Would approve of this Christmas, James said softly, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Being together, moving forward. Emily leaned into his embrace, allowing herself to feel the simple comfort of connection. I think so too. The doorbell announced their first guests, Samantha and David arriving with armfuls of presents and a bottle of wine. The place looks wonderful, Samantha exclaimed, embracing her sister. I haven't seen you decorate for Christmas since... She stopped, catching herself. It's okay, Emily assured her. Since Michael, I know. It felt right this year. Jean and Lily arrived moments later, cheeks rosy from the cold, carrying more gifts and a homemade cranberry sauce that Lily proudly announced she had prepared herself. I followed the recipe exactly, she informed them seriously. Cooking is just science you can eat. The adults laughed, and Emily noticed how much Lily had changed in the months since she'd come to live with Jean. Now 9, she had gained weight, her former gauntness replaced by healthy roundness. Her hair, once lank and dull, now hung in shiny waves past her shoulders. Most striking was her demeanor, confident, animated, comfortable in her own skin. As they gathered around the dinner table, Emily felt a surge of gratitude for this unconventional family they had formed, bound not by blood but by choice and circumstance. Before we eat, Jean said, raising her glass, I'd like to propose a toast to new beginnings and second chances, and to Emily and James, who reminded us all that love can find its way back, even through the darkest times. To Emily and James, the others echoed, raising their glasses. Lily, permitted a small amount of sparkling cider for the toast, added solemnly, and to everyone being safe now. The simple addition brought a moment of poignant silence before James gently responded, especially to that, Lily. Throughout dinner, conversation flowed easily. Samantha sharing stories from her work as a pediatric nurse, David describing his latest architectural project, Jean recounting Lily's recent piano recital. Underneath the pleasant discourse, Emily sensed a current of anticipation, as if everyone was waiting for something. The mystery was resolved during dessert when James cleared his throat nervously. I have an announcement, he began, reaching for Emily's hand under the table. Or rather, a question to ask. Emily's heart quickened as James produced a small velvet box from his pocket and placed it on the table between them. I had planned an elaborate speech, he admitted with a self-deprecating smile. But sitting here, surrounded by family, I realize simple truth is better than polished words. He opened the box, revealing a platinum ring set with a central diamond, flanked by smaller sapphires. Emily, when we lost Michael, we lost ourselves and each other. Finding our way back has been the greatest gift of my life. Would you marry me, again, and continue this journey together? The table fell silent, all eyes on Emily as tears spilled down her cheeks. The proposal wasn't entirely unexpected. They had discussed remarriage in abstract terms, but the timing and setting caught her by surprise. Yes, she whispered, her voice strengthening as she repeated, Yes, I would love to marry you again. As James slipped the ring onto her finger, Lily clapped her hands in delight. I knew it, she exclaimed. Grandma Jean, you said they would get engaged before New Year's, and you were right. Jean looked slightly embarrassed. Lily, that was supposed to be our secret guess. Emily laughed through her tears. Were you all in on this? Not the specifics, Samantha assured her, but James did ask for our blessing, especially Lily's. Emily turned to the little girl in surprise. James asked your permission? Lily nodded, her expression suddenly serious. He said that since I was important to you, my opinion mattered. I told him it was a good idea because you smile more when he's around. The simple observation, delivered with a child's directness, brought fresh tears to Emily's eyes. Later, after the dishes were cleared and gifts exchanged, Lily pulled Emily aside while the others chatted in the living room. I have one more present. For you, she whispered, handing Emily a carefully wrapped package. I made it myself, but Grandma Jean helped a little. Emily unwrapped the gift to find a handmade scrapbook, its cover decorated with pressed flowers and the words, Our Family, written in Lily's neat handwriting. Inside were photographs, Emily and James together, Jean teaching Lily to bake cookies, Samantha helping with a science project, all of them at a baseball game in the summer. The final page held a drawing of all 6 of them holding hands, with 3 figures floating above, labeled in childish script as Michael, Mom, and Grandpa Wilson. Grandma Jean says they're still part of our family even though they're in heaven, Lily explained, so I included them too. Is that okay? Emily hugged the girl tightly, too moved to speak for a moment. It's perfect, she finally managed. This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received. Lily beamed with pride. Ms. Richards, Dr. Chen, says that family isn't just who you're born to. It's also the people who choose you and who you choose back. Dr. Chen is very wise, Emily agreed, marveling at how therapy was helping Lily process her experiences and form a philosophical framework for understanding her life. When you and Mr. James get married, will you have more children? Lily asked. Suddenly, the question caught Emily off guard, though not for the first time. Lily had brought it up months earlier. This time, however, Emily found herself considering the possibility rather than dismissing it. We might, she said carefully. We haven't discussed it yet. Lily nodded thoughtfully. I think you'd be a good mom. You're already kind of like my second mom, even though I have Grandma Jean. The simple statement warmed Emily's heart. That's a wonderful compliment, Lily. Thank you. The girl hesitated, then asked in a smaller voice, if you do have a baby, would you still have time for me? Emily recognized the vulnerability behind the question. Lily's fear of being replaced or forgotten, a common concern for children who had experienced abandonment. Lily, listen to me, she said gently. No matter what happens in the future, whether James and I have children or not, you will always be an important part of my life. That's a promise. Lily studied Emily's face, seemingly searching for confirmation of this truth. Whatever she saw must have reassured her because she nodded and said simply, Okay, I believe you. When the evening finally wound down and their guest prepared to leave, John pulled Emily into a warm embrace. Congratulations, dear, she said. I couldn't be happier for you both. Thank you for everything, Emily replied, for trusting me with Lily, for becoming family. Jean's eyes crinkled with emotion. Some people come into our lives for a reason. You came into ours at exactly the right moment, for Lily, but for me too. I was so focused on finding my granddaughter that I'd forgotten how to connect with anyone else. You reminded me. After everyone had left, Emily and James sat together on the couch, the Christmas tree lights casting a warm glow over the room. James held Emily's hand, his thumb tracing over the new ring on her finger. Happy? He asked softly. Very, she confirmed, leaning her head on his shoulder. Though I had no idea everyone was expecting this announcement. James chuckled. Lily might have let something slip during Thanksgiving dinner when you were in the kitchen. She's enthusiastic about the idea of us getting married. Something about you needing someone to help change light bulbs. Emily laughed. Practical considerations are important. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before James spoke again. She asked me about children, if we might have them. It seems to be on her mind. Emily nodded. She asked me too just tonight. I think she's trying to understand where she fits in our expanding family circle. And what do you think? James asked carefully. About children, I mean. It was a question they had danced around but never addressed, directly. After Michael, the idea of another child had seemed impossible to Emily, a betrayal of his memory, an unbearable risk of further loss. Now, however, the possibility no longer felt like a closed door. I think, she said slowly, that I'm open to the conversation. Not right away, but someday, perhaps. James kissed her temple gently. That's all we need to know right now. The future will unfold as it should. As they sat together in the quiet apartment, Emily reflected on the year that had passed. From the moment she found a frightened child, hiding in a school bathroom, to this Christmas Eve engagement, surrounded by a family that had formed in the most unexpected ways. The journey hadn't erased the past. Michael's absence would always be part of their story, but alongside that loss, new connections had formed, new beginnings had emerged. Life, as she had observed to James months earlier, had indeed found a way forward. Spring arrived with a burst of renewal. Cherry blossoms lined Emily's street, and her classroom window stood open to welcome the fresh air and birdsong that had replaced winter's silence. The wedding plans were underway, a small ceremony in Jean's backyard scheduled for June. Lily, thrilled to be designated flower girl, took her responsibilities with characteristic seriousness, practicing her walk daily. You have to step exactly on the beat, she explained to Emily during Sunday dinner. Not too fast or too slow. The Collins case had faded from headlines, though its impact continued. Robert Collins was serving his sentence in federal prison, while Diane had begun her shorter term. The civil settlements had established trust funds for all identified victims, including a substantial one for Lily's education. More importantly, new child protection protocols had been implemented throughout the school district, changes Emily had helped advocate for alongside Detective Martinez. As Emily graded papers, her phone chimed with a text from James. House on Maple Street just listed. 3 bedrooms, yard for a garden. Worth a look? Worth a... Emily smiled, typing back, "Definitely." Family home? His response came quickly. Family home. The house on Maple Street became home in July, 1 month after the wedding. Emily and James moved in amidst laughter and friendly chaos as Samantha, Jean, Lily, and several colleagues helped unpack boxes and arrange furniture. "My room is perfect," Lily declared, inspecting the guest bedroom Emily had designated specifically for her weekend visits. The walls were painted a cheerful yellow, with bookshelves and a desk positioned near the window. In the backyard, Emily and Lily planted a vegetable garden while James assembled a patio set. Jean supervised, offering advice on tomato placement and sunlight patterns. "You've created something beautiful here," Jean told Emily privately as they watched James and Lily laughing over a stubborn garden stake. "Not just the house, this family we've all become." That evening, after everyone had left, Emily stood in the quiet kitchen, James's arms wrapped around her from behind. "Happy?" he asked, echoing his Christmas Eve question. Emily turned in his embrace, meeting his eyes. "More than I thought possible again." Upstairs, in what would someday perhaps be a nursery, moonlight streamed through gauzy curtains illuminating possibilities neither had dared imagine before finding their way back to each other. 2 years later, Emily stood in the doorway of the nursery, watching as Lily carefully rocked 3-month-old Charlotte in the wooden chair by the window. "She likes when I sing to her," Lily, now 11, whispered. "Just like Mom used to sing to me." Emily smiled, heart full as she observed the tender scene. The journey from that school bathroom to this peaceful moment had been remarkable, filled with healing, growth, and unexpected joy. Outside, James tended the garden that had expanded to include flowers alongside vegetables. Jean would arrive soon for Sunday dinner, bringing her famous apple pie. Life had found its rhythm, weaving together past and present without diminishing either. Michael's photograph still held place of honor in the living room, now joined by wedding pictures, candid shots of Lily's piano recitals, and baby Charlotte's newborn portraits. "Everyone ready for dinner?" James called from downstairs. "Coming," Lily replied, carefully transferring the sleeping baby to Emily's arms. As they descended the stairs, together, teacher and student, rescuer and rescued, now family in all the ways that truly mattered, Emily reflected that sometimes light enters our lives through the most unexpected cracks, illuminating paths forward we never imagined possible.